K47 here, and today I'm going to share with you guys my favorite vertical wall mounts, along with all their details, so that way you can pick your own. We'll hang a few boards here in a minute, but let's go over the boring details first. Let's start from the most expensive to least expensive. This is the Burton Collectors series, and these retail from 15, I've seen them all the way up to 30, so let's call it 20 bucks. The downside with this is it does put 4 holes in your drywall, so if you are renting, you're going to have 4 holes to fill instead of as little as 2 with some of these other setups. I also am not a huge fan of the metal bracket because that could easily damage your board if you're not careful. However, if you know it's somewhere where there aren't kids around or other clumsy people, then it's a great option because that shelf really does supply the maximum stability for your board. Let's take a look at the hardware inside of this bad boy. First up, you have your board clamps and your little foam pads, which is a really good idea. However, they are still metal, so it's something you are going to have to worry about. And then we also have this suspicious little black bag. Which has your drywall anchor and fastening screw to actually secure the hardware to the wall. These anchors are my personal favorite size. They're rated for about 50 pounds each. They're not too big, so the holes are going to be easy to fill. Next up on the list is the board bullet. I want to say this retails for anywhere between 14 and 16 bucks. I will include links for all these down below though, so that way you have easy access to all the above. I did notice with the board bullet, if you can see on camera here, they did go with these really old-fashioned style drywall anchors, and I'm not a huge fan of them. I've had very bad experience with them in the past, just with other projects and doing things around my house, so not super thrilled about that. I also feel like the bushings to hold the board against the wall are a little overkill. I know it never hurts to go overkill, but this is to the point where if you're trying to hang a whole bunch of these on one wall, you're actually going to lose space, and if you're hanging up 30 boards, you might even lose enough room to hang your last board. So that's something you definitely want to consider if you're a major collector. Also, these lag bolts that they have going in here are just that. They're really secure and designed for going into a stud. I suspect that the drywall anchors are more or less just for insurance with this setup. And then I actually really like the store your board setup, and this one is actually my favorite commercially available one because of the fact that it only retails for about $12, and these lag bolts are epic. They're definitely designed to go through a 2x4 or any other stud no problem. These are the right size bushings that I would go with. They're not overkill, they're still very hard and stable, and they have recessed inserts, which I'm not sure will show up on camera here. The recessed inserts allow the even longer lag screws to go through all this and then through the drywall anchors. These drywall anchors are almost overkill. These are rated for 75 pounds each. So unless you're going to be hanging up a terribly large board or possibly other stuff, it's not really needed, but it does give you that extra insurance and comfort. And then last but not least, my personal favorite, because I came up with it myself, so I'm going to be a little biased, is I just went to Lowe's and picked up some of these flat washers here. There's 10 of them in a package. I plan on stacking 2 together on each side, so I'm going to use 4 for each board that I hang up. And then I'm going to put the little washer in front of it to keep it from bending or manipulating at all, and secure it with these drywall anchors. I got 6 of these anchors for under $2.50, and I got all these washers for $2.11. I had a home pack in my basement already here, which was just a bunch of random hardware and stuff laying around. So I actually didn't pay for these. It might actually end up costing you $5 in the long run instead of under it if you go with this route, because I got some freebies. As you can see here, these are rated at 50 pounds each. So my board does not weigh 100 pounds. I suspect this will work just perfect for hanging everything up. Alright. let's go over a list of the tools you're going to need real quick to put any of these boards up. To be honest, any of the mounts that you decide to go with, you will need the majority of these tools to get the job done right. You're going to want a drill bit set, or at the very minimum, the proper size drill bit that's the same diameter as the drywall anchor that you're using. A drill, a power set bit, tape measure, a screwdriver is what they suggest, but for saving time and editing time, I am actually going to go with the impact here. And of course a level, because no matter how much you think it looks good by the naked eye, as soon as you stand back 3 feet and actually you're done with the project and everything's permanent, it won't be, and you're going to be very upset with life. So find some type of way of leveling it if you don't actually have one. Glad you guys made it through the boring stuff. I know I can get technical sometimes, but speaking of technicalities, I unfortunately only have limited wall space and will not be able to exhibit all the mounts that we have being displayed here today. But if you do want me to make another video with the other mounts, or possibly show you guys my cheap Lowe's creation that I made, comment below. While you're at it, please subscribe. But let's get to it! I've opted to go with the wall bullet first, because my girlfriend's board is very small. You'll see that here in a minute. And even though, I don't know if this will show up on camera or not, but there are metal inserts in here, so the rubber bushings are super durable and strong. Unfortunately, the drywall anchors are the old-fashioned style that I'm not a huge fan of and have not had great success with over the years. So we will try these and see what happens. I'm hoping the screws are large enough they'll still easily support the weight, no problem, but we'll see. As you can tell here, I had my girlfriend hold the board in place while I marked and held a level off the positions, and I put little sticky notes up underneath to catch all the drywall shavings. And last but not least, you're going to want a drill bit that's the same size as the drywall anchor. Maybe even a hair smaller. Yeah, of course. Definitely into a stud. Okay, so this will definitely hold up no problem because there is a stud in here. And this actually works great for the scientific aspect behind it, because we'll be able to test one with the stud and one without the stud and see how well these crappy anchors hold. Or, in my opinion, crappy anchors. Doubles as a hammer. Cool, that's pretty freaking stable. But that's the one going into the stud, so we'll see. By the way, yes, I am standing on top of a desk and I'm bouncing on it. Now the key to using an impact instead of a screwdriver is you gotta be really light on the trigger. But let's test this out. Now, I probably should have started with a slightly smaller bit. They did skip around a little bit, so I'm actually curious to see how well this works. Pretty well. Cool. And that way it's easy access. So I really wanted to give the wall bullet a 2 out of 5 Jerry Skiers, due to the high price for what this actually is. However, with the metal inserts in there and the larger diameter bushings, they did actually really reinforce the crappy anchors that they went with and are considerably sturdier than I thought. So we're going to give these 3 out of 5 Jerry Skiers. Ladies and gentlemen, we have another last-minute contender. Seriously, I did totally forget about another mount that I ordered that just showed up in the mail today. So, in the other corner, we have... And the last opponent is the Demon Wedge. This thing is pretty cool because it comes in different color options. The white that you see here can also be black, as well as the way overpowered metal drywall anchors. It's freaking sweet. But the coolest part about this is you can tell here there's 3 different options. I am going to include it in the vertical mounting video, but it also has a horizontal option as well as an angled option, and that's the one I want to go with since I've never mounted a snowboard that way before. It'll be something interesting for all of us. Learning from my last mistake, I have a pilot drill bit in this time. I really hope this works since I didn't find a stud. Alright, let's see if that's the right angle. You can bring the board over? I'm hanging my old park board because it's pretty beat up. And, well, I'm still going to use it occasionally, but not so much. And I think it'll look cool in my backdrop for my video. Projects are much easier if you have a friend to help. Moment of truth. Here we go. Haha, styling. So this bad boy's been hung up for a couple hours now, and I freaking am super stoked about these mounts. This is the first time I've ever gotten to use one of these mounts before, and I like it. They're a rubber or plastic material. I don't have to worry about them marring up my board at all. My only gripe about them is those large metal anchors that they have are overkill. They really dug up the drywall behind the mount here. The mount is a large enough diameter that it does cover the damage, but when I go to move, I'm going to have a much larger hole to fill because of this. However, it's worth it because it was cheap. It was only 12 bucks, and I have options for mounting my board instead of just straight up and down, which is super attractive in my mind. So I'm going to give this thing a whopping 4 out of 5 Jerry Skiers. And last up today we have the Clinch, which is the one with the smaller bushings, but it has the larger anchors. Honestly, it's more or less the same thing as the wall bullet, so let's get to it and I'll tell you which one's better. And we're going to use that mount to mount my old school airwalk from back when I was a teenager in this area up in here. At this point, you guys should be pros. Mark it. Pre-drill it with a pilot hull. And then if you're drilling the drywall anchors in, you're going to want to use the bigger bit for the appropriate size. And then of course, put your drywall anchors in. And then last but not least, install your bushings. Or your lag bolts through the bushings. Moment of truth. And will the last board fit, or did we screw up at the end? Ta-da, it fits. Alright, so I do like the Clinch. I think that it's a few dollars cheaper than the other one. My only thing that you need to make sure is you go with a larger drill bit. I actually ended up switching out that other one for an even larger size up. As I previously said, this is my favorite off-the-shelf vertical just wall bushing system. It's really simple and it's cheap. So I'm going to have to give this a whopping 3.5 out of 5 Jerry Skiers. I do like the Wedge just a little bit more because you have the different options to it, but they're both really safe and easy to install. So now that most of my boards are back in place and the drywall is cleaned up, I figured it'd be a great time to tell you what I thought about the Burton one as well, even though we're not mounting it today. I want to give that 3.5 out of 5 Jerry Skiers as well. The main reason why I'm not giving it a full 4 out of 5 is because the price on it is absolutely high for what it is, and the accessibility is not easy. What I mean by that is even this one, I can't mount my bindings to it, so that gets an accessibility rating of 2, whereas the Clinch system and the wall bullet that you saw earlier has an accessibility of 3. Super easy. The Burton one is probably closer to a 1, because you can't keep your bindings on it and you can't just pull it out very easily. But for a collector, it's perfect. The reason why many people buy a wall board mount is to get the board out of a tripping area and to make it so it's still easily accessible. I understand that collectors are obviously not going to care, but for a person who just has a daily rider and no longer wants to trip over it, any of these options are great. Some of you guys might have wanted to know what size drill bits that I used. I went with a 1/8 drill bit for the pilot hole. I went with a 5/16 drill bit for the medium-sized drywall anchors, and I went with the 3/8 drill bit for the large drywall anchors. I also used my drill at one point for a hammer for the ones that didn't have threads, and you could use a little hammer for this or a full-size hammer or pretty much anything laying around. Drills aren't exactly meant for it, which is why I'm bringing this up now. I'd like to thank you guys for helping me build the official Boardthroughthepain backdrop, and no matter what wall mount you go with or tools you decide to hurt yourself with, always remember, board through the pain!